Okay, so Taylor Swift. I mean, it's pretty hard to ignore her impact right now, isn't it?
Hmm.
Feels like she's just everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere.
But we wanted to go a bit deeper than the headlines, really understand the story behind it all.
Right.
So think of this as like your personal shortcut. We're going to unpack how she went from, well, a kid on a Christmas tree farm to this global icon.
Exactly. We've gone through a really detailed account of her life, her career milestones, and the mission here is to pull out the key moments, the sort of fascinating insights into her journey.
Perfect for anyone who's curious, basically, whether you're a longtime fan or just wondering what all the fuss is about.
This deep dive is definitely for you.
Okay, let's do it. Back to the beginning.
Yep.
Reading, Pennsylvania. A Christmas tree farm. It does have a bit of a storybook feel, doesn't it?
It really does. You know, growing up there with her parents, Andrea and Scott, and her younger brother, Austin.
And even back then, the signs were there, like the interest in stories, music.
Oh, definitely. Clear signs. A real love for stories, for music, and apparently she was pretty comfortable performing even as a kid.
Interesting.
And what's really key, I think, is when she discovered country music. She was only, what, 9?
9, yeah.
And it wasn't just liking the tunes, it was the stories and the songs that really grabbed her. She wanted to tell stories like that.
So it wasn't just a passive thing. She wanted to do it.
Precisely. She started singing at local events, karaoke contests, anywhere she could, really.
Taking any chance she got.
And then the big step, learning guitar at 12, not just to play covers, but specifically to write her own songs.
And her first song was called Lucky You. Even the title sounds like, early Taylor.
And you can see that drive already, right? Expressing her own view through music.
And her parents must have really believed in her. Those weekend trips to Nashville. That's a huge commitment.
Oh, absolutely huge. Driving down with demo CDs, knocking on label doors.
And facing rejection, apparently. A lot of it.
Yeah, which just highlights her persistence, doesn't it? And their support. That resilience, so young, it's pretty telling.
It really is. And then the family actually moves to Nashville when she's 14. Wow.
That's the commitment, right? They picked up everything for her opportunities.
So she's in Nashville at 14. What happens then? Does she just start playing everywhere?
Pretty much. Hit the ground running, playing any gig she could find, networking. Eventually, she lands a deal with a music publisher.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly, a publisher?
It's like a company that helps songwriters get their songs heard, maybe recorded by other artists. She was the youngest person they'd ever signed.
Working with experienced writers at that age.
Yeah, talk about learning fast. A real trial by fire, I imagine. Surrounded by pros, learning the craft, the business.
Must have been invaluable.
Totally formative. And then comes that almost magical moment you hear about.
The discovery.
Yeah. Scott Borchetta, he sees her playing at a place called the Bluebird Cafe.
Ah, the famous Bluebird.
The very one. And he's starting his own label, Big Machine Records. He signs her. She's his first artist.
Wow. Talk about being in the right place at the right time with the right talent.
It really feels like one of those destiny moments, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Talent meeting opportunity.
And then, boom,
Mm-hmm.
2006, Tim McGraw.
Yeah, her first single. And it's about love, memory, pretty deep stuff for a teenager.
But it worked, it connected.
It absolutely did. And the album, her self-titled debut, Taylor Swift, hits like Teardrops on My Guitar, our song.
What was it about that early music, do you think?
I think it was the honesty. It just felt real, like you were hearing her actual diary entries set to music.
Yeah.
Teenagers, their parents too, they heard that authenticity. She was speaking their language, their experiences.
So she wasn't just another singer, she was like a voice for them.
Exactly, right from the start. A rising star in country, no doubt.
But she didn't just stay comfortably in that country box, did she?
No, not at all. Album number 2, Fearless, in 2008. You can already hear the pop influences creeping in more strongly.
That one was huge. Love story.
A modern Romeo and Juliet, but, with a happy ending.
Right. And You Belong With Me. That was the anthem.
Total anthem. And Fearless just exploded. Best-selling album of 2009 in the U.S.
And the Grammys.
Yeah.
Album of the Year.
Yep. Youngest artist ever to win that at the time. It was a massive statement.
What did that signal, do you think, winning the big one so early and with that pop crossover sound?
It showed she could write these incredibly catchy, relatable songs that just jumped beyond genre lines. Master storyteller, master hook writer already.
But that level of fame, it brings its own problems, right? The spotlight gets intense.
Oh, absolutely. Increased pressure, media scrutiny, it all ramps up.
Which leads us to that VMA moment in 2001.
Yes. The Kanye West interruption, hard to forget.
It was just awkward and really unfair, I think, especially for someone so young on that stage.
Definitely unfair. But, her reaction was pretty telling.
How so?
She handled it with a surprising amount of grace, publicly anyway, and you get the sense she sort of used it, turned it into motivation.
Channeled it.
Yeah, and it also created this huge wave of public sympathy for her.
True. And then came Speak Now in 2010. What was significant about that one?
The big thing, she wrote every single song entirely by herself.
Wow. All of them.
All of them. It was a huge artistic statement showcasing her growth, her confidence. Songs like Back to December, Enchanted.
And Mean, right. That one felt pretty pointed.
Oh, yeah. Definitely responds to her critics. An early example of her directly addressing that stuff in her music, which becomes a recurring theme.
So she's proving herself as a solo writer, handling criticism.
Yeah.
What's next? The big genre shift.
Well, the lines start blurring even more with Red in 2012.
Yeah.
That album was a real mix.
Country, pop, little bits of rock even.
Exactly. A fusion. And it had massive hits. We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. I Knew You Were Trouble.
And All Too Well.
Yeah.
That one became something else, didn't it?
It really did. Even without being a huge initial single, it just resonated so deeply with fans. The storytelling, the emotion, it became legendary.
And then years later, the 10-minute version comes out and breaks the internet.
Which just proves the power of that song, that connection she builds. It's incredible.
So Red feels like a transition. Was she feeling pressure then, maybe, to pick a lane? Country or pop?
It seems like it. The narrative suggests she was definitely feeling pushed to fit into a box, but she resisted. Didn't want to be limited creatively.
Which I guess is smart for long-term success. You have to evolve.
Essential, I'd say. Especially in pop.
So then comes the definitive leap, 2014, 1989.
Yep. Named after her birth year. A symbolic rebirth, really. Full-on pop, no apologies.
And it was just massive, fun, confident, shake it off.
The ultimate tune for ignoring the haters.
Blank Space, which was genius, satirizing her own media image.
So clever, turning that narrative on its head. And style, just effortlessly cool.
And 1989 won her another Album of the Year Grammy.
Making her the first woman ever to win it twice. That cemented her status as a pop superpower.
It wasn't just about the music by then, though, was it?
Yeah.
She started speaking out more.
Right. About industry stuff. Artist rights, fair pay from streaming, owning her own music, which becomes very important later.
Finding her voice beyond the songs.
Yeah, and navigating some pretty public feuds and tough headlines at the same time. She was evolving into more than just a singer-songwriter.
Like a businesswoman. An advocate.
All of the above. A creative force, but also savvy about the industry, about her platform, and still writing those incredibly relatable songs. It's quite the balancing act.
Okay, so she reaches this peak of fame around, 2016? But it sounds like it came with a dark side.
Definitely. The narrative suggests that while she was globally famous, that level of scrutiny became overwhelming. It cost her peace of mind.
And the feud with Kanye West and Kim Kardashian resurfaced.
Yeah, and that led to a really intense online backlash, the whole Taylor Swift is over party thing. It was pretty vicious.
I can't even imagine dealing with that level of public negativity.
It must have been incredibly difficult. And understandably, she stepped back, disappeared from the spotlight for a while.
A period of silence. Healing.
Seems like it. A necessary retreat, probably, to process everything, figure out her relationship with fame after all that.
It must have been a crucial time for her, personally, recalibrating.
I think so. Because what came next was powerful.
The comeback. Reputation in 2017.
Right? And that lead single, Look What You Made Me Do.
The old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, 'cause she's dead. Jealous.
Such a bold, defiant statement. It got everyone talking.
And the album had a very different sound, didn't it? Darker, edgier.
Yeah, much darker, stronger, more electronic influence. Songs like Ready for It, I Did Something Bad. It was a direct clapback.
But not entirely hard-edged. I remember Delicate.
Exactly. That vulnerability was still there, under the armor, finding love, insecurity amidst the chaos. It added complexity.
And speaking of love, this is when she started dating Joe Alwyn, right? But kept it very private.
Yes, a deliberate choice, it seems. Learning to shield her personal life after everything she had been through. Protecting that space.
And despite all the controversy leading up to it, the Reputation Stadium tour was massive.
Huge success. Which really showed the loyalty of her fan base. They stuck with her.
Then, another shift. The pendulum swings back with Lover in 2019.
Right. A return to light, hope, pastel colors felt like emerging from the darkness.
The title track Lover is just pure romance.
Beautiful song. And you also had You Need to Calm Down, this big, inclusive LGBTQ plus anthem, and the vulnerability of the Archer.
She seemed more outspoken politically around this time, too, right?
Definitely. Using her platform more overtly for causes she cared about, LGBTQ plus rights, women's rights, embracing that influence.
And then 2020 happened.
Yeah.
The pandemic.
The world stopped, and out of nowhere, Folklore.
The surprise album. It sounded so different.
Totally different. Stripped down indie folk focused on storytelling, fictional characters, songs like Cardigan, Exile, The Last Great American Dynasty. It was stunning.
And then she did it again just a few months later with Evermore.
Her sister album. Just this incredible, unexpected burst of creativity, showcasing a completely different side of her artistry. It really resonated during that weird, introspective time for everyone.
It showed amazing range. But behind the scenes, another battle was brewing, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. The big one. The fight for her master recordings. Her first 6 albums.
A third label sold them.
Sold them without, she says, giving her a chance to buy them herself.
So what did she do? This is where the re-recordings come in.
Exactly. An unprecedented move. She decided to re-record all those albums, track by track, plus bonus from the vault songs, so she would own her work, Taylor's versions.
That's audacious.
Yeah.
And brilliant.
Incredibly bold, and the fans were totally behind her. Fearless, Taylor's version, and Red, Taylor's version, came out in 2021 and were huge.
And Red Taylor's version gave us the 10-minute All Too Well. Finally.
Yes. With the short film she directed, it was a cultural moment.
Yeah.
Just underscored her power as a storyteller and her connection to those songs, that history.
This whole period just screams resilience, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Adapting to the pandemic, fighting for her work, reclaiming her story.
Absolutely. It's a masterclass in taking control of your own narrative, turning challenges into power.
Which kind of leads us perfectly into the current, era. The Eras Tour.
The phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Announced late 2022, and the fan reaction was just off the charts.
Unlike anything we've seen, really.
And the concept itself is so unique, not just touring a new album, but celebrating all of it. Every era, from the beginning right up to Midnights.
A journey through her whole career, live on stage.
And it's epic. Over 3 hours long, 40-plus songs, incredible costumes for each era, immersive sets.
I've seen pictures. The Lover House, the Reputation Snakes, the Folklore Cabin.
It's visually stunning. And you get the distinct feel of each period. The pastel lights for Lover, the fire and darkness for Reputation, the enchanted forest for Folklore Evermore.
And the 10-minute All Too Well during the Red set must be something else.
Fans live for it. The whole show is like this massive tribute to her evolution, her resilience, shared with the fans who've been there.
It became more than a concert tour, didn't it? Like cities were renaming themselves for her.
Total global event. Hotels booked solid. Fans flying internationally. It's wild.
And the friendship bracelets. That whole trend is so wholesome.
It really speaks to that sense of community she fosters. Swifties connecting with each other through her music.
And commercially, it's smashed records, right?
Highest grossing tour by a female artist ever, by a huge margin, just cements her status.
And somehow, in the middle of all this planning, she drops another album, Midnights.
Late 2022, exploring those late night thoughts, anxieties, anti-hero, Bejeweled.
And it dominated the charts, too. Didn't she have, like, the entire top 10 at one point?
Yep. First artist ever to occupy all top 10 spots on the Billboard Hot 100 simultaneously. Just unprecedented dominance.
Her influence now feels like it goes way beyond music, fashion, business. She directs her own short films.
She's a cultural force, full stop. Recognized as Artist of the Decade, Woman of the Decade. There are university courses studying her lyrics now.
Analyzing her songwriting as poetry. That's amazing.
It reflects the depth there. But I think ultimately it still boils down to that connection with fans.
That emotional core.
Yeah. People feel like her music gets them through things. She's honest about her struggles, her imperfections, which makes her feel relatable, human, despite the megastardom.
Using her voice for causes she believes in adds to that too, I suppose.
Definitely. It makes her feel like more than just an entertainer.
So looking back at this whole journey, what's the main thread? Courage. Creativity.
All of that. Courage, creativity, connection, turning pain into art, words into anthems, constantly evolving, rewriting her own story.
And the crazy thing is, it feels like she's nowhere near done. The anticipation for what's next is huge.
Absolutely. Her ability to reinvent herself while staying true to, her core, it keeps everyone watching. What will she do next?
So wrapping this deep dive up, if you take one thing away, it's got to be that sense of resilience, right? Creative evolution and just the sheer impact one person can have.
Definitely. We hope this is giving you, the listener, a really solid, engaging look at her whole career, condensed down.
And maybe as you think about her journey, the different eras, the determination to own her narrative, maybe it makes you reflect on your own journey a bit.
Yeah, what eras have you been through? What's your next chapter going to look like? It's kind of inspiring in a way.
Food for thought. Well, thanks for joining us on this exploration of Taylor Swift's story.
We hope you found it insightful.